Hey guys, it's Kevin again. There's going to be another movie review for you guys. Now, this movie I'm going to be reviewing, I'm sure all of you were looking forward to seeing me review this movie because it is the only big movie in April. Really, it's the only big movie in April. It's the only movie that I think anyone really gives a shit about besides, like, Unfriended. That's the only one I really care about. There are some limited releases as well, but other than that, this is, like, the big one that everyone cares about, and that movie I'm going to be reviewing is Furious 7. Now, I want to point out that I have not seen the other Fast and Furious movies, and honestly, I started watching Fast and Furious 6. I never got a chance to finish it, though, because I had to leave to see Furious 7, because, yeah, I saw it today. I saw it opening night, which was awesome. I really wanted to do that, because I've never actually done that before, so I love that I did that, because I just don't usually do that, but I thought that was awesome that I did that. I was definitely looking forward to this movie. I heard that the Fast and Furious movies have gotten better as time has gone on, especially after Fast 5, and they've just gotten better and better as they go on, and I saw Furious 7, and honestly, I have to say that you really don't need to see any of the other Fast and Furious movies, because honestly, they bring you up to speed so well in these movies that you really don't have to, and overall, what did I think of Furious 7? Furious 7 was great. I love Furious 7. It's by far the best in the franchise, I think, personally. It does have a few problems, which they all really do have problems, and it is a little ridiculous, but I think it was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it, and overall, I just thought it was a fantastic movie. But let's just get into the plot of Furious 7, which honestly is a really cool plot. I really like the plot of it. It's really cool, and I think it's really well done. So, of course, the crew's defeated Owen Shaw and everything, and basically after they've defeated, the crew just wants to basically just be able to return to the United States and basically just live normal lives because, Brian is now married, he has a he has a son, and Dom is trying to jog Letty's memory because, of course, she still has that memory loss thing going on. However, they can't really do that because Owen's older brother, Deckard, is now after Dominus Crew for killing his brother, and he wants to get vengeance. He wants to basically avenge his brother's death and go after them. So basically, they learn that he killed Han, and the crew has to set out to find the man who killed one of their own before he finds them and basically protect the crew. And that's basically a plot of Furious 7. And honestly, it's a pretty awesome plot. I definitely enjoy the plot. That's something I was definitely looking forward to, is the plot. I think it's really cool, and especially because a lot of people say you don't go to these movies for the plot. I like that the plot is actually really cool to this one. Now, there are a lot of problems with this, but let's first get to the acting in Furious 7, because I think the acting was actually really good in this movie. I think one of the things that works so well is just the fact that not only that this was, Paul Walker's last movie, and a lot of people were doing better jobs, but I just thought overall the acting was really great. Vin Diesel was great in this movie as Dom. Honestly, this is probably his best performance in the series. I saw Fast and Furious 6, he's good in it, but he was really, really good in this. I mean, you can see how much the crew has affected him and things like that. He really has gotten comfortable in this role, and honestly, I really loved his character in this movie. I thought he did a really good job. He has some awesome action scenes as usual, but I also really like the central story with him. I mean, he really wants to help out his wife, Letty. He really wants to help her jog her memory, but he also really cares about his family and his crew and everything, and I just thought it was really great how protective he was of that, and I loved his character. He did a really good job. Paul Walker, of course. Now, this is Paul Walker's last movie. Very bittersweet. But I thought that he was great. Now, I am going to say this. A lot of people are probably wondering, is it noticeable when they switch to Caleb and Cody? I honestly have no idea what scenes they were added into. And if you wouldn't have told me that they put them in the movie, I wouldn't have noticed because I didn't notice it at all. I didn't notice that they put his brothers in. Paul Walker did a great job. He always does a great job. And I really like the central story going on with him and him just wanting to be the family man and family first and just wanted to be with his wife, but he couldn't do that because he has this crew and he needs to help them out and protect Dom because Dom's his best friend and everything. And the bonding between Dom and Brian is still there. And they still work great together. This might just be their strongest bond yet. I thought it was really well done here. And that's one of the things I love about these movies is the way they execute. It's very well executed, and I loved it. Dwayne Johnson as Luke Hobbs. His character is, yes, he's ridiculous. There are points where his character is completely ridiculous, and he's actually not in the movie as much as you think he is, but for what he's in, he's awesome. Every scene he's in, he's so awesome. I mean, there's stuff that happens with them that are definitely unbelievable. There's stuff that happens in this movie. Half of the shit that happens in this movie is unbelievable. I'll get to that when we get to the special effects, but I thought he still did a really good job for what he's in. Definitely enjoyed his character. I love all the wisecracks he has. He has so many ridiculous lines, but he just pulls it off so well, and he's so funny, and I think he did a great job with that. Michelle Rodriguez, a lot of people don't like her character. I really like her storyline of her not knowing her memory or anything, and I thought her character, she has this scene towards the end of this movie, and it is probably the best performance she has given in this series. It's honestly is a very heartbreaking scene. She did a very good job there, and I will get to that when we get to spoilers, but she did an amazing job there, and I thought she was just, she sold it there. That was an amazing scene, and she did a really great job in this role. Jordana Brewster as Mia, I thought was great. Tyrese Gibson, though, I really want to talk about Tyrese Gibson as Roman. Stole the show so many points in this movie. He was so funny. I mean, I love his character. And again, guys, I haven't seen any of the Fast and Furious movies, so I wasn't expecting his character to be as funny as he was. He has so many fun jokes. I mean, half of the jokes are him just trying to flirt with girls, which I thought was hilarious, but the funniest jokes involve him and Ludacris's character. Ludacris's character, the bonding that they have and the banter between them is some of the funniest stuff in the movie because, basically Chris Bridges, aka Ludacris, he of course, he made, because, Roman thinks he's all that and everything, and I like that he's trying to tell him, no, you're not as good as you think you are. It's so funny, and he has so many funny scenes, and that definitely is one of the things that works so well in this movie, is he just stole the show so many points, and I loved his character. He was so good in this movie. Ludacris, as I said, was great. He was really funny, and I guess the only other person I'm going to talk about really brings my only complaint. Oh, Kurt Russell, I forgot to say, is in this. He is hilarious as well. I loved his character. He was really great, and he's at first, basically he's called Mr. Nobody in the movie, and I thought his character was really good. But the only person I really want to talk about is Jason Statham, who I thought was incredibly underused. Really, he was. That honestly brings up my biggest complaint in this movie, in that the villain was menacing, but he wasn't menacing enough. Really, all we know about him is that he just wants to avenge his brother's death. That's all we get. All the other scenes we get of him are just him giving looks to, Brian and Dom, or him in a fight. We don't actually get to see him on his own try to talk about why his brother means so much to him, and I would have wanted to see more with him as the villain. That's really my biggest thing there, is that I thought that he just wasn't as menacing as he could be, and I think the only reason, and it's just, to me, it just seemed like the only reason that he was menacing is because he's Jason Statham. If you would have casted anyone else in this role, it wouldn't have been menacing. Obviously, it's Jason Statham. He's awesome, but if it would have been anyone besides Jason Statham, I don't think he would have pulled it off as well. And Jason Statham definitely did pull it off. I'm not saying he didn't pull it off, but I'm just saying that I feel like they could have done a lot more with his character, and they didn't. But I still loved everything else about the movie. Let's get to the directing by James Wan. James Wan did a very good job directing this movie. Now, of course, it is a different director than the past two have been. I don't remember the name of the guy that directed them, but I think James Wan did a really good job directing this movie, definitely. I mean, he knew the tone, he knew what to do with the tone, he didn't try to take it too seriously, but one of the things I like is that he did have some very serious moments in there. He realized that while this is a fun movie, you can have some serious moments in there, and I like that he wasn't afraid to do that, because there are some very tense, serious moments in this movie, and I think he did a really good job with doing that, and just the way that was very well executed, and the way he executed the direction in the movie was really, really good. Definitely James Wan did a really good job, and I'd love to see him come back for Fast and Furious 8, because as of right now, there is a Fast and Furious 8 planned. I'll talk about that, but the screenplay is so good, this movie. It's so witty. Some of the lines I said are absolutely ridiculous, but they're handled so well, and they're pulled off so well by these actors who clearly love what they're doing, and you can see how far they've come and how much of a bond they have, and I thought the screenplay was really great, to this movie. Definitely enjoyed the screenplay. The score, I thought, was really good, had you on the edge of your seat a lot. Cinematography and action sequences, that is why you see these movies. You don't see these movies for the acting, you see them for the action sequences, and they are mind-blowing, okay? Some of them are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, there are scenes where there's a car falling off a plane and it flies. Obviously, that can't happen in real life. In fact, one of the things I love, though, is how self-aware the movie is, because there's a scene where Brian's like, Dom, cars can't fly, and the car flies, and it's awesome. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense, but you just have to go with it because it's awesome. And I think the cinematography, I think the reason it works so well is because of how mind-blowing the cinematography is. And every action scene in this movie is just so awesome. There's not a single action scene where I'm like, this is going on too long. No, they were all awesome, and I loved all of them. And I thought they were all really well done. The editing, honestly, this movie didn't feel as long as it is. It didn't feel nearly as long as it was. It went by like that. It really went by very quickly for me. I was into it the entire time. There was never a point where I'm like, this is too slow, I don't like this. No, I was into it pretty much the entire time, and I definitely thought they did a really good job of doing that. And that's something that I did not like in Fast and Furious 6, that there were so many scenes of dialogue they didn't care about, but I really cared about it here. And now I'm going to get to spoilers for Furious 7. If you guys have not seen Furious 7, which I'm sure many of you haven't, because it's not even officially out yet. It doesn't officially come out till tomorrow, but if you guys haven't seen Furious 7, do not watch the rest of this review. I'm going to spoil it, and I'm going to talk about some things that I definitely think you guys are going to expect. Let's talk about the biggest moment for me. One of my favorite moments in this movie is when Dom almost died. I thought they were going to go through with it. I thought they were going to kill Dom, but then I thought, Vin Diesel wants to do an 8th one. They're not going to kill off Dom. There's no way they're going to do that. When Letty was saying how much she remembered, and how she remembered her wedding, and how much she loved him, I loved that scene because her character, I mean, most people think these movies are just fun movies, but they were able to handle emotion there so well, and I love that about the movie. I love that she was just, like, talking about how much she loves him and how much she cares about him, especially because most of the movie, she has no idea what he was talking about. I thought it just worked perfectly. Michelle Rodriguez gave an amazing performance there, and that whole scene I thought was absolutely amazing. Deckard's demise, I thought, was kind of weak. I would have wanted him to just die. When he got turned into when he went to jail, I'm like, couldn't they have just killed him? I mean, he was crushed by a rock. You don't really survive from that. But granted, there's so many times when there are crashes and people are okay, that fine, whatever. But I would have wanted him to just die, honestly, because, like, he could come back in the 8th one, and if they do that, fine, but I don't really want that to happen. But of course, let's get to the best part of the movie, Paul Walker's tribute. Oh my god, the way they sent off Brian's character was perfect. Because of course, Brian wanted to be with his family. He wanted to be a family man. He didn't want to be a part of the crew anymore. And when he went back to his family, you see the look on Dom's face. It's bittersweet, but he's really happy for Brian as well. And it's really great send off because, of course, Dom literally rides off into the sunset. We see this beautiful montage, and "See You Again," honestly, I think is a contender for the Oscars for Best Song. I really feel like it could get an Oscar for Best Song just because of how good that song was. I really feel like "See You Again" could be a contender for Best Song at the Oscars. I really do. And the way they handled it was absolutely amazing. Now, as I said, as of right now, there is a Fast and Furious 8 plan. Do I think they should do it? I don't know. I would want to see another one because these movies are really good, but I still think that they should, but I still would have been fine if this would have been the last one. It was an amazing way to handle the way they handled his goodbye was perfect. And honestly, if you guys, even if you haven't seen the other movies, it will probably leave you somewhat sad. Like that, I don't know, I haven't seen the other movies, but just seeing that footage I thought was really well done. It made me care more about Paul Walker, and just knowing that everyone knows Paul Walker is one of the nicest guys ever, and he was always there for things, and also the bond that Vin Diesel had with him. In fact, one of the things I love about the movie is that one of the things that I absolutely loved about the movie is basically before it they showed like this thing of Vin Diesel being interviewed by Maria Menounos, because it was an AMC theater, and he talked about how every movie Paul and him would talk about how each one was better than the last one, and he doesn't get to do that with Paul. And not only is it a goodbye for Dom and Brian, but it's also a goodbye for Vin. And I gotta say this also, guys. There is a scene. Remember that scene where Brian was talking to Mia? That scene where Brian was talking to Mia about how it was a goodbye and everything, and how he's not gonna see her again. That honestly felt like a final goodbye. I don't know if that was after his death or not, but that honestly, guys, that felt like a final goodbye, and that was such an amazing scene, and I loved it. So overall, guys, I loved Furious 7. It was a great movie. It does have some problems, as I said, but other than that, I really enjoyed it. I definitely would see it. I definitely would see it again. See You Again, as I said, it's an amazing song, but let me know what you guys saw of Furious 7. You have seen it. Honestly, out of the ones I've seen, of course, I can't really say it's the best one, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, I talked to my dad. He's seen all of them. He said this was the best one. He said they handled it perfectly. Would you want a Fast and Furious 8? I mean, I'd want it, but I don't really see why they need to do another one. But that's basically it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for another movie review, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.